Hello, class. I'm coming to you via webcam recording because I can't be in class. So, this is my presentation. Um, I chose to do option A for our final paper, basically on a case study that shows a challenge, basically, interculturally. Um, the case that I'm choosing to do is my father's case, Michael Guzman. I don't know if you have been reading the papers, but recently, around like the end of March, early April, there are some articles about him because he is going up for parole. My father's actually in prison for murder, and he um, he was actually on the death row when he was sentenced. I chose to do this case because it helps to show how in the early 80s the criminal justice system was very ethnically biased, I would say. um, it comes down to this: is my father, he was convicted of 2 counts of murder, rape, kidnapping, and tampering with evidence, all in which are false because one person died, one person survived, so there couldn't have been 2 counts of murder. He raped no one, from what he can remember, and neither did he kidnap anyone. When it comes down to it, his sentencing was basically brought out by 12 jurors, in which every trial is, but his, in this special case, were 12 all white jurors and 3 white prosecutors. His defending public defender basically was also white, as well was the judge. So basically, he had no chance of being able to use his Sixth Amendment, if you will. The reason why I chose this case also is because it's sensitive on my part, because I myself am a minority, and it makes it harder for other people to understand what I feel, because my father's in prison. He's been there for 30 years. He's in prison for crimes that he didn't commit. A Supreme Court judge recently told him that he should have been charged with second-degree murder, because the murder, even though he didn't commit the murder that was put upon him wasn't premeditated, and he was under the influence of drugs as well when the incidents happened. There's also another man who was with him that night who smoked non-filtered cigarettes, and they found those cigarettes at the crime scene, and they actually caught that guy. Um, the guy who was with my father was the primary suspect out of 19 suspects, in which my father was not one. But my father he didn't really know exactly what happened that night, so he thought that it'd be better that he turn himself in. Little did he know he was turning himself in and admitting to murder. Um, and when he admitted to murder, they put it down that he basically confessed to murder, attempted murder, rape, tampering with evidence, and kidnapping, and that's why he was charged with that. But the thing is that the this second he turned himself in, he was admitted into a mental asylum in Las Vegas, New Mexico, where for a year he was drugged 3 times a day, every day, with 3 different antipsychotic drugs, in which actually gave him brain damage, causing a brain tumor in his brain, and causing him to be very mentally incompetent during trial. That being said, he wasn't given a fair trial because he never said one word during his trial. And I look at it as this being a challenge because he was a young Hispanic male at the age of 18. He had never been in trouble, never been arrested, never been pulled over, nothing. A clean slate, basically, had a family. He was his first child was on the way at the age of 18. He was still a kid, basically. a high school senior, and this crime happened, and he was tried as a monster, put on death row, the youngest person in New Mexico to ever be put on death row. Um, he was charged as if he had been killing people for years or something. He got the same sentence that other people were getting who killed hundreds of people, bombings and things like that, and yet he only attempted murder, if you will. Um, so that's basically my presentation on that, and how I believe that my father's case is an intercultural challenge within the criminal justice system. I want to throw a little bit of facts out that in 2008, the U.S. Department of Criminal Justice actually did a survey, I should say, that showed that in the county of Houston, Alabama, 80% of African Americans were not allowed to take part in trials that involved murder or the death penalty as a sentencing. Um, you can believe in 1981 when 82 when my dad was convicted, that in New Mexico there weren't hardly any African Americans, yet there were a whole bunch of Hispanics. There's some statistics that a lot of trials that consist of a African American or Hispanic defendant, the jury tries to keep away the minority race out of the courts try to keep the minority race out of the jury, so there's no bias on the side of the defendant, basically. Yet it's okay to have a bias for the victims. Um, that being said, that's why I think that my dad's case was a great part of option A for the challenging. If you have any other questions, just send me an email via WebCT, and I can get back to you and answer any questions. Thank you for your time, and bye.